All right, a happy Wednesday evening. Hopefully everyone is great out there. Certainly if you are a Miami Heat fan, your season is over. We are going to do a Heat off-season video. The off-season article and graphic is up on ESPN.com. You can read all about the Heat. It's funny, after they won game 2, I had tweeted that basically this was probably the most impressive win, excuse me, that I've seen in the playoffs in quite some time based on the circumstances. And the reaction from it was like, well, this is Heat culture. This is what we do. You even saw Jimmy Butler in game 3 basically pounding his chest. This is what we do. Okay. Based off what we saw in this series, and certainly no Jimmy Butler and no Terry Rozier, it's probably one of the most lopsided first-round series we've seen in a long time here. And certainly based on the circumstances with those two players out, the reason why I said that is because you basically went into a war with a paper knife. I mean, that's the reality of it. I had Boston in 5. I hate doing those predictions because they tease you when you lose. I had Boston in 5. I thought Miami would get a game here and there. I didn't think it was just going to be this lopsided. So enough about the series. We move on to the Heat offseason. They have 2 draft picks, which certainly there's value in there. We saw it last year with Jaime Jaquez as far as what they're able to do. They have the 15th pick in the draft. And they have the 43rd pick in the draft, second rounder. That's value based on where Miami is financially. And we're going to get into that in a minute. Another one of these kind of like uneven years as far as in and out, who's playing. This is why I think Eric Spoelstra is one of the great coaches of all time, is basically you don't know who you have each night. 35 different starting lineups. Hero, Adebayo, and Butler played 27 games together in a total of 499 minutes. The big thing, which was different from last year, 22 and 21 in clutch games. Last year, they were 10 games above 500. So when you have a rotating door, you're going to win 46 games and be in the play-in and be the 8th seed. Certainly last year, things were different. As far as same scenario of getting in and then getting a Milwaukee team that misses Giannis for games 2 and 3, I believe, and then basically and get to an NBA Finals, which you certainly give them a lot of credit. But it's basically kind of the same circumstances as far as availability matters in the regular season. You can't pull a rabbit out of the hat every year as far as getting to the play-in and then hopefully you make a deep run. You got to be one of these higher seeds, I would say, or have some continuity and consistency. And Miami just did not have that this year. And that's why it's hard, when you're evaluating the roster, it's hard to do. Second in defensive efficiency since January 31st. That's mightily impressive. And that's where you give a lot of credit to the Heat coaches. Now, here's the thing. 4 factors on how this roster improves. I already said help, roster consistency, development of their picks, recent picks, Jovic, Jaquez, who they select in June, and the front office getting their finances in order, which I know they will do because they have one of the great front offices, certainly with Pat Riley and Andy Ellsberg. They'll know what they're doing as far as with where they are with the apron, and we'll talk about the finances in a minute. Woj talked about it. I have this frog in my throat. Woj talked about it, I think, 2 weeks ago, the night they played Chicago, how Miami is a destination and will continue to be a destination for all-star players. And I totally agree. Hey, listen, I live in Southwest Florida. I don't pay any state taxes, and my weather here is 85 and sunny 8 months out of the year. Florida is a destination, especially down south. Trust me. So that's not my recruiting pitch to Miami. You just need to come down and visit. However, he's right. But there's a big however, and this is why this year is going to be different than other years. The Heat, where they are financially right now, where they are with the apron, their first apron team right now, where they are with the apron potentially next starting in July. We've talked about the rules of the apron, the inability to take Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson's contract and aggregate them for, I've already seen on my timeline. How do we get Kevin Durant? How do we do this? Where they are right now, they need to get their finances in order. And certainly they could get some relief with Caleb Martin opting out and not re-signing. What happens with some of their players who have player options. Certainly they can make a trade. You can move Duncan Robinson off their books and clear up some more money. But there's two financial windows when you look at where the Heat are. Right now they're a first apron team. So this is the window that starts from today until June 30th. The inability to take back more money. Yes, they are allowed to send out cash to buy a pick in June. I doubt they'll do that. They've got the 43rd pick. However, that triggers the second apron hard cap for next year. Yes, they are allowed to aggregate money from now until June 30th in a deal, but that triggers that second apron restriction for next year. Where they are next year financially, and we have to add unlikely bonuses to everything because they count towards the apron, even if a player does not achieve it. So when you look at Tyler Hero, who's got $2.6 million on unlikelies, and you add in their draft pick, and you add in Caleb Martin, they are right at that second apron. They're a little bit over here. So it's a fluid situation as far as where they are financially, but that's where I've said all along, they've got to get their finances in order before they become a player this coming offseason here. The top front office priority is navigating the future of Jimmy Butler. And I say this is that if there is a situation to keep an eye on that could tilt the balance of this offseason, it is Jimmy Butler, who's got 2 years left on his contract going into the summer. He's got a player option for next year, $48.8 this year, this upcoming year, $52.4 million player option. Jimmy Butler is extension eligible starting on July 7th. Jimmy Butler can extend for one more year at little $58.6 million. Jimmy Butler can extend for 2 more years if the player option is wiped out and a new salary is added. It comes out to 2 years, $113 million. Okay? You would think, no brainer. Let's do it. Let's extend Jimmy Butler here. Here's the issue. Okay? And certainly he is played at a high level. We saw it last year in the playoffs. Hurt this year. Right? 1 of 9 players to average higher career averages in points, rebounds, assists, and blocks in the playoffs than the regular season. Right? We can throw out all the stats, but here's all this. Turns 35 in September. Has failed to play more than 65 games in each of the past 4 seasons. Field goal percentage dropped from 54 to 50%, largely due to his struggles at finishing near the rim. Jimmy Butler is getting older, folks. Per second spectrum, 40% on drives this season, 7th worst in the NBA among players, and 59% on layups and dunks. Okay? Last season, shot 52% on drives and 63% on layups and dunks. It's going down. So what happens, let's play the hypothetical, if Miami does not want to extend Jimmy Butler? Does Jimmy Butler go back in time from his days in Minnesota and asks out? We will see. What is the fallout if there's no Jimmy Butler extension? What happens if the Heat want to extend him, have him decline that option, extend for lower, say 45 and 45 over the 2 years? We will see. But if you're watching anything in Miami this offseason, it's going to be what happens with Jimmy Butler, who certainly will probably be looking for an extension. The other extension candidate is Bam Adebayo, who's got 2 years left on his contract. He's eligible to sign a 3-year, $165 million extension in July, $51 million starting in 26-27. I don't think you'll be in a holding pattern when it comes to the future of Bam Adebayo. I would give him that money. He is one of the best defensive players in the NBA. His offense is coming along. I have no concerns paying him that amount of money. He'll be 29 in the first year. He's still in the prime of his career. That's your other extension candidate to watch. Caleb Martin, if the option is exercised, Hayward Highsmith through June 30th, Duncan Robinson, Terry Rozier. Team needs, facilitator, and certainly some bench depth based on what you have in free agency. Your free agents are Martin's got a player option, Thomas Bryant's got a player option, Kevin Love's got a player option, DeLon Wright, Patty Mills, Josh Richardson's got a player option, Hayward Highsmith, and then certainly your two-way guys. As I said, your draft pick is the 15th pick in the draft. You can trade that the night of the draft, certainly. You've got that second. You owe Oklahoma City a top 14 protected first in 25. They owe, if it's not conveyed, it's an unprotected in 26. That will trigger. If they convey it in 26, Charlotte then gets an unprotected first in 2028. Miami, certainly have, 2 years after that Charlotte pick is conveyed, they can trade it first. So they do have a little bit of draft equity based on what could happen. Certainly could get more based on other trades, but certainly get their finances in order. Navigate the future of Jimmy Butler, the Bam Adebayo extension, and get under the second apron. Those are the rules of requirement if you are a Heat fan going into the offseason.
Wanna try to boast at what I look like. Keep them going, try to wear, I pull up long range. Jimmy with the heat, I'm on fire. The CDA over here,